I start? Do I? Welcome, everyone, to this event on the achievements of the Adaptation Committee from 2017 to 2021. My name is Pilar, and I have the honor to have served the Adaptation Committee for the last 5 years, as well as to serve as co-chair for 2 years. Today, we will have the opportunity to share these achievements with you, and in order to launch the event, let me please introduce our co-chairs, Alessandra Sgovi, as well as Cecilia Bernardo, for an opening remarks. Cecilia and Alessandra, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Pilar. It's great to see so many of you here with us to look at the achievements of the Adaptation Committee in the past 5 years. I have the honor to be here with my co-chair and my fellow AC members and share with you some of our experiences and achievements. I have to say it's great to see so many of you, but also quite daunting because I haven't faced such a distinguished audience or any audience at all for the past 2 years, but it's also great. It's a really good feeling. I think we're all looking forward to sharing and listening to you here and in the corridors around adaptation. You see that I'm cheating. I have my notes here. I can't hide behind the screen. I'm sure many of you will feel the same way. But let me come back to why we're here. So the Adaptation Committee was established in 2010 as the principal body under the Convention to deal with adaptation issues. And it's really looking at enhancing adaptation and promoting a coherent approach in the Convention. We do so in different ways. For instance, by providing guidance and technical expertise that can help the enhancement of adaptation, as well as promote higher coherence under the Convention. We also do so by enhancing outreach and the dissemination of knowledge, not only on good practices, but also on knowledge gaps and scientific results and understanding. And finally, we support the implementation of the Paris Agreement and the Convention. So this is the last but not least. And we do so, of course, on all matters that relate to adaptation. And we've heard already in the openings of this session, and of course we've known for a very long time that adaptation is a crucial pillar of our climate action. So the Adaptation Committee is really at the center of it all.
Thank you, Ale, Pilar. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, and it's always an opportunity to thank you all to make part of the work of the Adaptation Committee, to make possible what we are here to present you today during this time of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. So as we come to the end of our current work, flexible work plan, we are preparing to launch the work on the new flexible work plan, but we thought it's important to share with you all what we have done in the recent years. And then we have organized this event today in 3 short parts, so we can best show you what we have achieved. Part 1 of this event will briefly give you an overview, and in part 2, we will pitch our favorite deliverables, so you can vote for your top 3. And the part 3 will then give the winners of the 2020 Youth Policy Case competition a chance to showcase their winning case. So with this, I will hand back to Pilar so that we take good advantage of the time to share with you all we want you to know. Thank you, Pilar. You have the floor back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, co-chairs, for this introduction. And during this event today, we will be using Mentimeter. This app, this tool, will be used in order to interact with our audience here today, but also with our audience that is sharing the event in YouTube and also COP26 platform. So we would like to invite you to please go to menti.com. You will see the code in order to enter 95530916. We will start with a short icebreaker quiz. We would like to test today, in a way, your knowledge about the AC work, but also about adaptation under the convention and beyond. But please, no worries if you don't know any answer or if you have any doubt about the different questions that we are going to share with you. This is an opportunity for us, all of us, to learn together more about our work, and that's the main purpose of the meeting today. So, first of all, you will see the question on how many publications and bulletins has the AC issued in the last 5 years. I'm sure that we will be surprised with your answers. Thank you very much. We are having a lot of answers. You have a good faith in the Adaptation Committee work. That's a good signal from us.
Indeed.
Okay, so let me share with you that, well, the correct answer is the best one. So we had 25 publications and bulletin during the last 5 years. So this is good news on the work of the Adaptation Committee. Then I would like to move to the next question, if possible. That is, how many official meetings has the AC held the date? So let's see if you may consider it. When the AC started its work, as Alessandra mentioned, it was she provided an idea there for you to take into account, which is the correct answer. So we have 10, 14, 20, and 30. Let's see which is the winning choice. Good for all of you. I think you really know which are the official meetings of the AC. So we have 20 meetings, and we are very happy to have so far all these meetings. These fruitful meetings will had a lot of deliverables that we will have the opportunity to share with you today. The third question that we have for you before starting the conversation on the overview of the work of the last 5 years is, where was the first AC meeting held? This is a tricky one, let me tell you, because I think we all think it should be Bonn. Yeah, we always go to Bonn. So let's see which are your thoughts in terms of this. I am giving you the doubt, the clue at the same time. Is it Bonn? Okay, it's Bangkok, it's Thailand. So good news for the Adaptation Committee that we had the opportunity in the past to meet in another place, even though we love Bonn, of course. And thank you to Germany for hosting us during all these years. So well done, everyone, for your interaction, for answering all these questions. Please let your computers, your phones, or your tablets open, since we will continue with some questions for you. Now I would like to continue with the second part of this event and this conversation. It will be focused on the overview of the work of the Adaptation Committee during the last 5 years. And in order to do so, I would like to invite 2 AC members and dear colleagues. I would like to invite Navina Sanchez Ibrahim and also Sheila Bayalas. So they will provide us with some highlights and milestones of the AC during the last 5 years. So Navina and Sheila, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Pilar. As you already said, we as Adaptation Committee prepare a report every year and on our progress and key achievements. This can, of course, only present a snapshot of the work of the respective year. So today, we would like to use this side event to present a more holistic picture. We would like to highlight the journey we have undertaken in the last 5 years, And Shell and I would like to do this, undertaking a journey through our 5 stages. Each of these stages take us on one of the 5 main functions that parties entrusted the Adaptation Committee with when it was established at COP in 2010. I imagine that most people in this room know that the Adaptation Committee is also working on a number of topics and methodological issues that were mandated by the CMA. Most of these items have a mandated deadline for next year, so we will not introduce them today in depth, but we're going to keep updating you as we have done by providing information publicly, posting the latest drafts on the website, and also by organizing and continue organizing webinars. At this meeting, we want to take a look at tangible progress on completed deliverables and how they fit in the overall picture of our main functions. Shall we start with stage 1? Sheila.
Thank you, Navina, and I'll just present from here. My name is Shella. I am a member of the Adaptation Committee. I'm actually the newest member of the Adaptation Committee, so I really thank my Secretariat colleagues and my fellow members on the Adaptation Committee for being so wonderful. It has been an excellent experience. So the first place we're going, the first function of the Adaptation Committee is to provide technical support and guidance to the parties with a view to facilitating the implementation of adaptation activities. To make that happen, we conduct technical work with the constituted bodies and other stakeholders on a range of topics under this function. Our goal has been to not only produce single-use products on specific themes, but to take a broader and deeper examination of adaptation over the years. For example, in the area of national adaptation planning, our work is supported by the NAP Task Force. The task force includes members from other constituted bodies and representation from the financial mechanism. Through this diverse composition, the group ensures a level of coherence, coordination on the work of the NAPs, including gaps and needs identified by the AC and the Least Developed Country Expert Group, or the LEG. The Adaptation Committee has also been able to address a whole range of issues through technical expert meetings and technical reports. So if you would like to know more about various approaches to adaptation, such as community-based adaptation and ecosystem-based adaptation, we have prepared a paper on that that explains it all. Or long-term adaptation planning, we have something for you too. And if you need toolkits to supplement your technical work on NAPs, the AC has one on private sector engagement and one on gender-responsive processes to formulate and implement NAPs. The list is long, and I could certainly keep talking about our technical work on data for adaptation or our inventory for methodologies for assessing adaptation needs, but I'll stop here and turn it back over to Navina, who is eager to share some information on sharing information.
Thank you, Sheila. So as Sheila said, our second function and the Adaptation Committee is all about strengthening, consolidating, and enhancing the sharing of relevant information, knowledge, experiences, and good practices at the local, national, regional, and international levels. I mean, what good is technical work if it does not reach its audience, right? So the AC addresses this mandate from various angles. It is constantly enhancing its own communication strategy and by implication disseminates information on countries' national adaptation actions. It features all adaptation-related work under the Convention in events, technical papers, and periodic reports, such as our most recent report on 25 years of adaptation under the UNFCCC. It also features efforts of developing countries. For example, last year the AC issued a report on how developing countries are addressing hazards. This will be interesting in the context of the global stocktake, where the adaptation efforts of developing countries play an important role. The last point on my list for this function is a topic that is receiving increasingly more interest from all. It's on the linkages between mitigation and adaptation. If you are interested in this topic, we really recommend you to have a look at our last technical information paper that was produced on this. Pilar, you look like you have a question for the floor.
Thank you very much, Navina and Sheila, for that. So we have another question for you, for the interaction with our audience. That question is related to one of our main products this year. The question is, what were the top 2 key climate hazards identified by developing countries? So this is part of one product already mentioned by my colleagues, Navina and Sheila. So possibilities are storms and high temperatures, floods and storms, drought and high temperature, and floods and droughts. So if you had the opportunity to read this report from the AC, probably you will know the answer. Let's see what happened. Okay, so we see that the last answer, that is the correct one, is the one with more votes. So we also check that our audience is reading the work done by the AC, so this is also very good news for us. I would like also to go back to my colleagues for the presentation of the next functions of the AC, and then we will come back with another question for you with respect to these questions, with respect to these functions. Sorry.
Thank you, Pilar. And the presentation should be coming up shortly for our next stop on our journey, which is engagement with national, regional, and international organizations. So in promoting the synergy and strengthen this engagement, the AC is looking to enhance the implementation of adaptation actions, in particular in developing countries. So we recognize that regional, national, and international organizations have an invaluable pool of knowledge that the international adaptation community can draw on. The AC has been working with these centers and networks from the beginning. Additionally, in 2017, the AC developed and distributed an overview of existing platforms that provide technical support to developing countries. This information was then included in an online list of regional centers that the AC had published previously. The AC also works closely with the Nairobi Work Program, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which draws on the expertise of more than 400 organizations that house adaptation experts, scientists, researchers, etc. The SBSTA has entrusted the Adaptation Committee to provide advice to the Nairobi Work Program, which ensures that the Nairobi Work Program's knowledge to action mission and related outputs remain relevant and tailored to the needs of the parties. Speaking of knowledge to action, Navina will now look at what the AC has done to facilitate implementation.
Thank you very much. So we're moving to function number 4. Function number 4 is all about means to incentivize the implementation of adaptation action. This includes finance, technology, and capacity building. Here, the AC regularly agrees on elements of draft guidance to the GCF and the GEF. This is important because these elements are then sent once agreed to the SCF, and the SCF channels this to the COP. This is, of course, not the only effort that the AC undertakes when it comes to supporting developing countries in accessing adaptation funding. Only recently, we finalized a paper that discusses capacity gaps in accessing adaptation funding. This paper looks at different funding instruments and mechanisms, not only under the convention, but beyond. Navigating this landscape can be sometimes overwhelming. So for supporting the navigation of the landscape, we support developing countries in identifying different options of accessing funding. The AC is just now, as we speak, working on an interactive tool that will allow parties to have a good overview of the different sources of support that are currently available. At the same time, the AC is working on updating a report that was created in 2015 around this topic. On the specific topic of accessing GCF readiness program in supporting adaptation, the AC works closely with the GCF and all relevant stakeholder groups to make the access smoother and easier. The AC has conducted workshops around this and issued information papers to help identify the challenges and address the challenges associated with accessing funding. Lastly, I would like to mention the Adaptation Finance Bulletin. The AC issues this bulletin twice or 3 times a year, and it helps interested readers in having an overview of the new developments around adaptation funding. I'm pretty sure that most of you in the room already have access to that bulletin, but if you don't, please be encouraged and invited to sign up for the mailing list. Pilar, it seems like it's time for another question.
I have a lot of questions today. Well, with respect to the Adaptation Finance Bulletin already mentioned by Navina, we have a question for you today. This is, what year was the first Adaptation Finance Bulletin published? Was it 2015, Paris Agreement, year 2017, 2020, 2021? It seems to be fairly new according to these answers. Is it? Again, our audience seems to be very wise, so the correct answer is 2017. So probably you are readers of this product of the Adaptation Committee, and we are very, very happy to acknowledge that. So thank you very much, Navina and Sheila, for your overview presentation. I think that you have another function to mention. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Pilar. So we are going to the last function. We don't want to miss this one, which is what the AC is doing to look at information provided by parties on their monitoring and review of adaptation actions, the support provided and received, as well as the possible needs and gaps and other information. The AC is discussing monitoring, evaluation, reviewing, and learning of adaptation action on all levels on an ongoing basis. As one example, the AC organized a meeting to exchange and share views on national adaptation indicators and how they relate to indicators or goals for sustainable development, and for disaster risk reduction. This was followed by an event earlier this year, which looked more closely at how impacts of adaptation this was followed by an event earlier this year which looked more closely at how impacts of adaptation interventions can be measured at the national, subnational level. Participants also discussed how monitoring and evaluation results can be best communicated so that consistent learning and improvement is ensured. Looking at the global level, the Adaptation Committee is working with the LEG and the Standing Committee on Finance, or the SCF, on methodologies to assess the adequacy and effectiveness of adaptation and support, which we anticipate will be helpful for parties in the context of the global stocktake. As a very last point, I would like to mention our technical paper on the global goal on adaptation, which has received much positive attention. It discusses approaches to reviewing the overall progress made in achieving the global goal on adaptation, and you may have seen last week that we issued it as an online publication. I encourage you to read this report in your free time. Now, back to Pilar to walk through some of our past work in more detail.
Thank you very much, Sheila, and thank you, Navina, for this insightful overview with respect to the functions of the Adaptation Committee. Now, we would like to examine a little bit more our favorites, deliverables of the AC during the last 5 years. We already know for the first part of the session today that we have 25 deliverables, so we have an opportunity to select some of them in order to make this presentation. And since we are celebrating today all the achievements of the AC during these 5 years and of course before, we would like to host a kind of, and a short, of course, award ceremony where you will have the opportunity to be the judges and to vote which are your favorite products of the AC. In order to do that, we will have 3 AC members that will provide some ideas, some elevator pitches with respect to different products. And then they will provide arguments and will try to convince you that these products are the best. So after that, you will need to vote which are your favorite or preferable deliverables of the Adaptation Committee. So I would like to invite my colleagues, Alice, Mariam, and Funi, to please give us these elevator pitches with respect to the deliverables of the AC.
Thank you, Pilar, to be the first one. I hope I get more votes. So I'm going to be pitching to you guys on what both Sheila and Navina presented, which is on the various approaches to long-term adaptation planning. This is definitely a winner. It has everything that makes it a good product. It is concise, and it explains some of the key concepts very clearly, and it will leave you with enough information so you can venture on from there. What this paper is about and why we wrote it as Adaptation Committee. You will recall that since the Paris Agreement was adopted in 2015, countries are increasingly developing national adaptation plans and strategies. Therefore, this paper summarizes approaches to long-term adaptation planning. They range from ecosystem adaptation, community-based adaptation, to risk-based approaches, and countries can therefore use these approaches individually or in combination. Moreover, a long-term approach to adaptation can also help countries to better integrate adaptation into development planning, ensuring a coherent process that looks at all relevant sectors and at all levels, just like each individual country is required to do. Are you interested in the pros and cons of incremental versus transformational change? Well, do you want to know the difference? Can you dive straight into making long-term adaptation plan? And how does this relate to short and medium-term plans? Which approach is the best for your case? Or is it maybe a mix of the many approaches? And most importantly, what is long-term adaptation planning? Please kindly read the paper and find out more and vote for it.
You want the next one as well?
Yes.
So, thank you. I'm really thrilled to tell you about one of our best products yet and why you should vote for this as the best deliverable, namely a report on 25 years of adaptation under the UNFCCC. And I have to say that this has been a very, very useful guidebook for my work under the UNFCCC. This publication tells the riveting story of adaptation under the UNFCCC, taking us from the time back then when adaptation was seen as a dangerous distraction from the imperative to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to the 25th anniversary of the UNFCCC, by which point a wide range of instruments, mechanisms, bodies, and processes have been put in place to support countries around the world in accelerating their adaptation actions. So this report is actually full of interesting facts. Did you know that the Nairobi Work Programme on Impacts, Vulnerability and Adaptation to Climate Change was actually the first stakeholder engagement mechanism created under the Convention? Or did you know that the UNF Secretariat, on behalf of the Adaptation Committee, released a documentary on adaptation in 2014 That is available actually in 9 different languages. It's all in the report. And this report is an informative guide and a great read both for veterans and for newcomers to the UNFCCC and to the world of adaptation alike. And it has actually great infographics, so it's not all text. So I urge you to vote for this report, but perhaps more importantly, to read the report and share it with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Pilar. Thank you, Alice. My name is Mariam, and I cannot wait to tell you about our paper on the capacity gaps in accessing adaptation funding. First of all, if you're asking about gender balance, I would like to say that we have Julio in the room, and he's also with us on the committee, but we also have Clifford, Javier, and other colleagues. I don't want Kazim and others. I don't want to forget anyone. So let me start by introducing one of my favorite products that the AC has worked on. And if you may already know, one of the objectives of the Adaptation Committee is to provide guidance to parties with a view to enhancing capacity building for adaptation action. And it is my pleasure to tell you about the crucial paper that the Adaptation Committee finalized this year, after a few years of working on it, and it highlights capacity gaps in accessing adaptation finance. And this paper provides deep insights based on submissions from parties, and we have tried our best to put it in the best way we can to be of use to you and to also parties and everyone else. And it doesn't really end with identifying the gaps. It also identifies ways in which the Adaptation Committee can assist in addressing those gaps in order to better access adaptation funding. And it asks very important questions. How can countries adapt if there is no capacity to develop successful proposals, no capacity to administer funds, or no transfer of technology and technical training? This paper presents thought-provoking discussions on what we need to do, not just related to adequate and predictable financial and technology transfer resources, but also to enhance adaptation actions through other things. And whether you are an adaptation practitioner, finance provider, fund seeker, you will benefit from reading this paper and looking through the lens of those who are already facing the challenges to access adaptation finance. Please go have a look and don't forget to vote for your favorite product. That's mine.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Pilar. Just couldn't wait to tell you about my second pitch, which is on data for adaptation. Very important. Allow me to take you to the world of data for adaptation. As much as a complex issue adaptation is, it starts with data. No matter whether it's a few numbers generated by a small local measurements or the big data produced by multinational-based observations, in order to take the right adaptation decisions for your particular location, you will not only need to know about the trends of temperature and rainfall, but also about how this interlinked with changing economic conditions. Qualitative and quantitative data are needed to tell you about how things have unfolded in the past and how they will play out tomorrow. Next month or the past 10 years or next 10 years from now. If you are interested in how this kind of data is currently provided in the form of diverse data products by a range of interconnected players, I wholeheartedly invite you to study our technical paper on data for adaptation at different spatial and temporal scales. You will take a deep dive into some of the most technical features of adaptation and learn about the challenges, but also the amazing potential of our time to meet the growing demands for data with ever-increasing technology and cooperation. Again, vote for this publication. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. So now, I am not pitching a product. I'm pitching something much bigger. Try to imagine that you're a new member or an older member of a constituted body, like we call it in this language. For instance, a committee like the Adaptation Committee. And this body is actually established to be the overarching body on adaptation under the convention. That is a big responsibility. Wouldn't you want to see a solid network of partner organizations behind you, one that you can turn to for technical knowledge and support for that work, for your work? So imagine this network exists. It does, voila. It's called the Nairobi Work Program on Impacts, Vulnerability and Adaptation to Climate Change. It consists of over 100 expert organizations and growing. I think Pilar's University are one of the newer members. Welcome.
Thank you.
And these are specialized in adaptation, and they all stand ready to support our work. That is amazing. The Nairobi Work Program and the Adaptation Committee have been working together on all technical matters on our work plan through workshops and expert meetings and contributing to methodologies and case studies around the world and by producing targeted knowledge products. So if you think that the Adaptation Committee and we all actually benefit from working with the Nairobi Work Program partners and can do so even more in the future, please vote for the Nairobi Work Program collaboration with our committee.
So back again with your second favorite product of the AC, following your first favorite, which I already have alluded to earlier. So, and this product, or this bulletin, is the Adaptation Finance Bulletin. And with each passing year, as the urgency of adapting to climate change grows, so does the vital importance of adaptation finance. We know very well how complex the world of adaptation finance is, and that's why, through the Adaptation Finance Bulletin of the Adaptation Committee, the AC digests this information to you and sends it straight to your inbox. And each edition features adaptation finance quick facts, relevant upcoming events, and also the latest news from the multilateral climate finance mechanisms constituted bodies under the UNFCCC, and also other relevant actors in the climate finance space. Our latest issue was only published last week, and in it you can read about the results and recent board meetings of the Green Climate Fund, a new global initiative from the GEF, and also a unit promoting climate resilient cities, and progress on key deliverables from the Adaptation Committee and the Standing Committee on Finance. And with these facts and figures in your pocket, you can easily track key developments related to adaptation finance flows, and as a bonus, you get to show off and impress the people you know with your vast knowledge of adaptation finance. I hope you cast your votes to the Finance Bulletin, and also if you would like to subscribe to this bulletin, you can follow the link that should be displayed right now or a little bit later if you've registered for this event. I think that we can send it to your inbox as well.
Thank you, Miriam. Allow me to talk about the most voted pitch already in social media platform, which I believe it will be voted again today. If you want to know how linkages between adaptation and mitigation have been addressed under the UNFCCC within different sectors, including associated synergies, trade-off, and the linkages paper is a solid reference to consult. The paper is an excellent source to guide parties, practitioners, development agencies, and UN organizations to enhance their understanding of interrelationships between adaptation and mitigation. Sustainable development as well, and also how they are linked to biodiversity, diversification, food and agriculture, and other international agendas. There's a great potential to implement mutually beneficial activities that take advantage of synergies between the legal instrument under the UNFCCC and those under the CBD, UNCCD, as well as Food and Agriculture Organization in particular. A synergic movement that can enable system innovation and societal transformation for ambitious mitigation and adaptation. If ambitious and synergetic in adaptation and mitigation action matters to you, help us to increase the awareness on this topic by voting on the AC linkages paper. I thank you, and I hope you will vote for this paper.
Thank you, Funi, and for remembering us about the important links between adaptation and mitigation, really important. Another important piece of work that we're doing in our committee, and I'm sure you will agree to this is about monitoring and reviewing our adaptation actions and learning from our successes, but also from our failures. And I know that many countries, including my own, are struggling with finding methodologies for good monitoring and evaluation work. So therefore we organized a forum on monitoring and reviewing that we had last month. This showed us very clearly the benefit of sound monitoring and evaluation processes. And here I'm not only talking about whether our actions were implemented the way they were intended. What it's really about is to finding out whether our actions had the intended impacts and effects. So what good is the best activity if it does not lead to the desired success and intentions? So what good is a seawall if it's perfectly constructed, but it will not prevent your village from flooding? So at the forum, other aspects became very clear as well, and that is the aspect of communication. Participants showcased how their country or organization made sure that the valuable knowledge that they gained from the monitoring and review exercise did not end up gathering dust on shelves. It needs to be communicated and used to be used for informing future adaptation interventions and thereby improving the capacity of communities, businesses, governments, countries to ensure effective responses to the changing climate. So, for the importance of monitoring and evaluation, vote for the committee's ongoing work on this for monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and for the 2021 Adaptation Forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice and Navina. It says you're making it difficult to compete, but now with the obvious winner, our technical paper on the global goal on adaptation, I think, and this has been long awaited. And it's my pleasure to tell you about it. And if you're ready, see, it's on considering approaches on reviewing overall progress in achieving the global goal on adaptation. And by now, you already know where this comes from, and it's from Article 7.1 of the Paris Agreement, which established the global goal on adaptation of enhancing adaptive capacity, strengthening resilience, and reducing vulnerability to climate change with a view to contributing to sustainable development, and in the context of the temperature goal in Article 2 of the Paris Agreement. I know that by heart. And in order to ensure that we are indeed on track to achieving this important goal, it's also critical that we find robust and meaningful approaches to assess how far we have come and how far we still need to go. And the AC, in its capacity as the UNFCCC's primary body for technical work on adaptation, we have scanned the landscape of the existing and proposed approaches to assess progress towards achieving this goal. And we have produced a comprehensive overview of the various options and their associated opportunities and challenges to do this task. This product represents 2 years of intensive work by all my colleagues, meetings that have been done officially, meetings throughout the year. I think we're all proud of this product. It has taken a lot of effort from all of us. This reflects the inputs as well and insights of a wide range of parties, observers, and practitioners. I hope you got a chance to join our webinar, which we had convened on this very specific technical paper. And in short, this technical paper will be your guide to understanding one of the most interesting and most critical adaptation issues right now under the UNFCCC process, and it certainly deserves your vote. Check it and cast your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Funi, Alice, and Navina for these speeches. Now you have the opportunity to decide which are your favorite deliverables of the Adaptation Committee during the last 5 years. And for doing so, we are inviting you again to go to menti.com and to select which are your 3 favorite products. Let's see what happened and if the girls were convincing with her arguments with respect to the favorite products. I am very curious here. Okay. We already have a kind of 2 winners. Respectable winners. Numbers are changing. Still, we have time in order to have other outcomes.
Oh, doing great. Oh, it's impressive.
Very good. Numbers are still increasing. Thank you very much for your active participation really today during all this event and all the questions that we are posing for you to react. Thank you very much for doing so and engaging with us in this exercise today. So I think that we already have more or less some outcomes from our voting process. We see that, well, the winner is the technical paper on approaches to reviewing the overall progress in achieving the GGA, the Global Goal on Adaptation, the winner. And then the second one is the technical paper on long-term adaptation planning. Good for you, Funi, too. Congratulations. And the third one is okay, so we have 2. So we have 4 winners. This is good. Very good for us. So it's a report on the 25 years of adaptation under the convention. Congratulations too, as well as the information paper on capacity gaps in assessing adaptation funding. Thank you very much again for your active participation. And now we would like to move to another part of the event. And this, you already know that the AC is seeking for engagement with parties and with no party stakeholders in order to prepare and to deliver our products, as well as to engage in the different events that we have been celebrating, not only for the past 5 years, but also before. So this is a mode of work of the Adaptation Committee. And while we are very happy to celebrate today all the achievements that you already have the opportunity to share with us, we would also like to recognize and celebrate enterprising group of young people from Brazil who are investing their time in order to educate electoral initiatives and to they will refer to adaptation and electoral process in Brazil. So let me please invite this young team, and before just to say that this is coming from our last edition of the TEPE in 2020. During this edition of TEPE, we host a youth policy case competition. It was for young people from 18 to 13 years. In this competition, this team, formed by Gabi, by Joao and Beatriz, they were the winners not only from the judgment perspective, but also the public awards. So we congratulate you for this effort, and we would like to invite you, please, to come and to give us some introduction, some ideas with respect to your winning project. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and we want to thank you, the UNFCCC and the Adaptation Commitment, for this opportunity to talk a little bit about our project, and also thank this beautiful audience that is here with us today. Thank you so much. We were born as an electoral advocacy project led by a group of youth professionals and with a lot of experience with activism, with the goal to influence the municipal elections in Brazil. We knew already the necessity to have climate change and adaptation policies all over the world, but especially on the global south, where we are on the far front of the climate crisis that we face right now on this world. In 2018, we had a political change in Brazil that we went from a country that was the leadership of a democratic to the climate change, and we became a threat to both nature and climate policies. So with this contest, we knew it was urgent to start to take action and start to have also the subnational government filling this gap that the Brazilian government start to have. With that, in 2020, with the municipal elections that were happening in Brazil, we saw an opportunity to start to qualify the local debate and mobilize people to vote for climate.
So, we created a free virtual course with the goal to build capacity for future local representatives about the climate crisis and how to implement effective and inclusive policies in Brazilian cities to change this reality. The course addresses topics such as basic climate science, climate international policy, national policy, regional policy, and also highlighted real examples of climate adaptation policies in Brazil. So if those people were elected, they would know the skills and the capacity to actually implement adaptation in their own territories. With that, we want to escape the empty commitment letters or declaration endorsement, while also disseminating to the electorate who were the aspiring leaders that were actually committed with climate, and concluded the training so they could vote for climate. Our initial goal was to reach 50 candidates in the city of Curitiba, in the southern region of Brazil, where I am from. In the end, we could engage more than 400 candidates in 253 municipalities in all the 5 regions of the country. Also covering all the 27 of the 33 political parties, proving that the climate goes beyond a position or the other, but is a true humanity agenda. Finally, and the most cool thing about our project is that we could actually elect 21 of the candidates who are right now occupying chairs in their municipal chambers.
So we created this network of legislators in the subnational level called Mandato C, which is the Legislative Leaders Alliance for Climate Action. Mandato C started with 21 elected candidates, and now it has 35 people in all over Brazil fighting for climate action. And we have many different concrete cases from our members. So the first one is the Vinicius Parracho from Bahia, who expanded conservation units and created a payment for environmental services while also institutionalizing tributes for on green real estates. Others, like Carla Aires from Santa Catarina or Bia Caminha from Pará, created specific climate policies in the municipal level, while also institutionalizing councils for civil society participation in the agenda. And Amanda Godinho from Minas Gerais also created a municipal adaptation plan, which I think is very relevant to the topic of we are talking today. And, well, we actually went to way beyond what happened here, because this was just a starting point for us and an extremely great opportunity for our group. Initially, we were just a group of young professionals or young climate activists, but we actually institutionalized and formalized an organization working on climate adaptation and mitigation, and especially advocacy in the national scale, but also in the local level, which is something fantastic for us as young people to really reach meaningful and not tokenistic opportunities of work and of action. Furthermore, I think that it's an extremely incredible opportunity for us to be here exposing this project and many others that we had, not only to have access to finance that we mentioned here, but also to inspire many other people to continue pursuing this and really connecting this in a meaningful manner. So thank you for the opportunity, and if this was a possibility, please vote for this project. But no, it's not a possibility. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Joao, Beatriz, and Gabi, for this inspiring presentation. And we are very happy to know that the last edition of the TEPE gave you the opportunity to take your work forward and to have this opportunity to have a new institution for your work. So we are very happy also to know that, and congratulations again for winning the competition. Now we would like to give you some ideas with respect to not only about the work, the past work that we already achieved, the work of the last 5 years, but also about the work ahead, what will happen in the next years. And that is about our next flexible work plan that we have an opportunity to discuss during our last meeting, the AC20. It was virtual, but probably the next one we'll have the opportunity to see each other again, as it's happening now. During that situation, we have this occasion to discuss the next flexible work plan. And in this next work plan that we invite you to visit in the UNFCCC webpage, you will find in the AC part in particular this version. You will check that some of our current work already introduced by some of my colleagues, such as products and relationship and engagement with different bodies under the convention, the Adaptation Finance Bulletin, the Adaptation Forums. So there are different activities that we are already conducting and that we have developed for some time that we will have the opportunity to continue during the next 3 years. But at the same time, we will have other work to conduct, even coming from this meeting. And for that, again, we would like to thank you. Thank you for your active participation today, but also for your continuous engagement on the AC work during all these years, the last 5 and before, and for sure the next years. So we have arrived to the last part of our event today. We would like to thank you again for your participation. Thank you for being here, not only the ones that had an opportunity to share in the same room, but also the ones that are in YouTube, also that are sharing with us through COP26 platform. Please continue to engage with the AC work. We have mandates and also a very challenging flexible work plan. and we really are waiting to continue the collaboration with all of you, with the parties, with the non-stakeholders, and to increase that network. So this is my last words, and also to invite you that we will have the opportunity to share some snacks outside and to know each other better if that's the case, and we didn't have the opportunity to share for some time. So we are very happy to see each other again. Thank you very much for your participation today.